Well, hello and welcome to today's video, which is an owner's review of the Skoda Superb Estate 2019 L&K model. As ever with these videos that I do, they're not in depth by the standards of people like Autogufal or Autocar or a lot of people like that, and I can put links in the video description below so you can easily access videos that give you full information about the car. This is more really a case of, this is my car, I've had it since April 2019. What do I think of it? What do I like, what don't I like? What are the highlights of the car? What are the lowlights? Then we'll start the video by having a look around the outside of it, in the boot, under the bonnet, in the back, in the front. Some quick driving impressions, a couple of 0 to 60s using different driving modes, and then things we do and don't like, and a conclusion. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you do, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to hit that bell icon so that you get notified of new videos as and when they appear, and give us a thumbs up. Okay, so let's move on to the next stage and come on the journey with me. So here we have the 2019 Skoda Superb Estate L&K edition, finished in a very fetching petrol blue. I bought the car new from Simpson's Skoda, and I'll tell you in a little bit later on why we chose the Skoda over all the other cars we could have had. It's got nice 18-inch Pegasus alloy wheels. I think it's a very stylish estate car. Certainly belies the price point at which it appears. LED lights front and rear. We'll look in the boot in a minute. It is absolutely cavernous, yeah, you've got roof rails so you can buy additional roof bars, electric folding mirrors. Around the front you can see on the grille at the front, just in this place here, is the radar, cruise control and other such niceties. So we'll start by opening the back of the car up, which is an electric powered tailgate. Very nice. It's really nicely finished inside as well. You get this easy to remove, easy to move parcel shelf thing, or tonneau cover. You get hooks here to put your bags on. But as you can see, it's really nicely finished, and there's not a sharp edge in sight anywhere on the car. So there are a lot of really nice features, and one of the ones I really like is the false boot floor here, where you can actually put the tonneau cover out of sight, out of mind when you're actually taking things like dogs or whatever in the back. There are so many cars nowadays that you get that have a nice tonneau cover, but actually there is nowhere to put it at all when it's not in use. As you can see from here, and I'm just going to spin you around, it's really nicely finished inside. As I said, if you watch the Renault Zoe video that I did, that was really badly finished inside with a lot of sharp edges. The price point of this car is not dissimilar to the Zoe, and as you can see, it's so much better made. You've got nice cubby holes which are quite useful, one on either side, and you can see in front of you there is a ski hatch, so you can go right through. And there we have the ski hatch opened to go straight. So we've now folded the seats down, and as you can see, it is truly cavernous in the back. Well, I'm actually laying down, I'm 5'9", and I'm laying down in the back of the Skoda, as you'll be able to see, completely fit in the car. As I say, and my head, if you look at this end, is not actually anywhere near the seat. That just gives you a good idea as to how big the load bay is in this Skoda. So we're now going to open the bonnet up, which is easy to do with one hand. It's nicely on these gas struts, holds it in place, very effortless. But as is always the case with a modern car engine, there's not really anything to see or do under here. Just here is probably the bit you need most, which is where you refill the screen wash. And all the rest of it really is sort of, I wonder what that does. Haven't got a clue. So it's a very nicely balanced bonnet. Just comes down and shuts with a satisfying thunk. So in the back, as you can see, it's quite cavernous. and this is without a passenger. So let's just put a passenger in there. You have to excuse all of the junk that's on the floor, and then we can have a look just to see how much knee and headroom there really is. So the delightful Anne, as the glamorous assistant today, is 5'5", and I mean the amount of knee room here, I mean it's got to be, what, 10 inches would you say? Mm-hmm. Between your knees and the back of the seat front, and the seat is set in a normal travelling position. In terms of the height above your head, can you just give it a hand thing? There's what, 4 inches probably up there, yeah, easily. So I mean they do say that you have to move up into the long wheelbase S-Class Mercedes before you get the equivalent rear space as you get in this car. Being the Alan Kay model as well, in the back you've got air vents, but also heated and cooled back seats, and you get huge door bins in this. You can certainly get a 2-litre bottle in there, and they go around sort of forever. It's pretty cavernous. You get this armrest as well, which has got the ski hatch on the other side, and in the front of the armrest here you've got your drinks holders and somewhere for a pen should you want a pen. So moving into the front, it's a very, very nice place to be. These seats are extremely comfortable. They've got preset electrical position, so you can save your position, adjustable back, lumbar, seat base goes up and down, and overall it's a very nice place to be. Right, so as I said before, it's a nice place to be. Nice leather steering wheel. The engine is actually running at the moment, you can probably hear that. Nice clear dials, displays, and a really, really good infotainment unit in the middle, with a great little feature, which as you can see, the screen is a fair size at the moment, but you wave your hand in front of it and all of these buttons appear at the bottom. Move your hand away and they don't. Hand up. So you get a better screen view and you can just push the buttons. There's dual zone climate control, so you can set the separate temperature for either side. A heated front and rear window. A heated front window is a really good feature. The seats themselves, I push this button here, you'll see heated but also cooled, and there's also a heated steering wheel, so I don't actually want any of those on today. The good thing about the seats is you can actually have both the hot and the cold on at the same time, and what that actually does, if you have no heat on, you're just cooling the seat. If you have no cool on, you just heat the seat. If you have them both on, you're actually forcing the warm air through the vented seat, so it actually warms you up a bit quicker. You've got this massive compartment in the middle which has a movable floor on it just there, so you can actually get, you probably can't see, but you can get an iPad vertically in that. Cup holders, big glove box with, believe it or not, a CD player. You don't see many cars with those today. I can't really demonstrate how good the stereo is. It is very, very good, but because of copyright reasons it would be too difficult to try and do that. But the infotainment has been fully explained in other videos, particularly Autogufal videos, and I will put a link on to that in the description below. One of the other nice features of this car is the driving mode. There's a mode button just down here next to the gear stick, and it brings up the mode driving selection. So you can have it in Eco, which is Eco, Comfort, which softens the suspension and gives a harder than Eco throttle and steering response. You can have it in Normal, which is where a lot of people would drive it. You can have it in Sport. On the Sport setting it holds onto the gears longer, the brakes are a little bit sharper, the steering weights up a little bit more. Or the one I like best of all is the individual button, where you can actually tailor the suspension and the throttle map and the steering to exactly what you want. So we generally run it in individual because we like the Eco setting for the driving. It's only a 150 brake horsepower car, but it has got plenty of power for use on the public roads in sensible ways. The eco setting also enables you to coast the car, so if you're going along and you take your foot off the throttle, it will actually coast, and you can coast for miles and miles really with the car still running, and it does wonders for the fuel economy. Since refueling, we've averaged 55.4 to the gallon. We've done 337 miles, and we've still got a 415 mile range, so that's 700 and thick end of 750 mile range. There's lots of other little features on this Skoda which make it a really well thought out car. You don't get many cars, and I think in fact you have to go to a Rolls-Royce to be the only other car where it comes with umbrellas built in to the door pockets. Over here in the fuel tank cap you get a ice scraper, comes with the car. In the boot you get this torch thing here which comes out, it's rechargeable and is magnetic, so if you want to put the light anywhere you like. Other good features in the glove box which we mentioned earlier is actually cooled. This central thing here is also cooled. So just following along at 50 miles an hour. The car's, by the way, got 7,719 miles on the clock, and it's just so comfortable. It's just a nice place to be. You can probably hear a bit of tyre roar, and that's because of the surface that we're on, but it's just such a pleasant place to be. Hardly any traffic about either. This is southwest Scotland, Dumfries and Galloway near the Isle of Whitehall. 55 miles an hour. It's just cruising. And we're now on a fairly poorly surfaced B road. Really isn't much, just to give you a little glimpse of the scenery as where we are at the moment in southwest Scotland. As anything else, it's a truly stunning area, and the roads are just so quiet. Okay, so we're going to go for a 0 to 60 dash. It is slightly uphill, and we're just in the individual setting, which includes the eco mode. So let's see what happens. So let's start the engine and go. 32, 36, 41, 46, 51, 56, 60, 63. We're now going to try another 0 to 60. You have to excuse the beeping, it's going close to the edge. And we're going to try it in sports mode. And here we go. Yeah, it's definitely quicker. 41, 46, 51, 56, 60. That is pretty impressive, I think. First time I've ever done that. So there you go. While we're driving along, talk a bit more about the car and some of the great features it's got. One of the things we use a lot is the automatic cruise control, and that's a great feature. I've just switched it on now, and we're doing 50 miles an hour. As I say, it's a very comfortable car. This is not the world's greatest road surface by any stretch. It's undulating, it's a bit broken up in places, but yet the car is just serene. Just troll along here at 50, not a problem. But we'll do a little bit of driving a little bit later on, when we see the difference in road noise, which might or might not come out on the microphone, on the camera, on a different surface, and maybe see the automatic cruise control in action. So we're on a resurfaced part of the same road, and the road noise, certainly in the cabin that I can hear, is significantly less. We're doing 53 miles an hour. Apart from a little bit of wind noise, nothing. There you go, change of surface, you can probably hear it. Which is why I mentioned that the P7 Pirelli tyres are not necessarily the best show in town. I suppose one of the interesting thoughts people who know me would have is, given the sort of cars that you've bought in the past, why did you actually buy a Skoda? And I think it's because after a long succession of quite expensive cars, I was a bit fed up with cars that seem to overpromise and underdeliver all the time. And yes, Jaguar Land Rover Group, I'm looking directly at you. Things that look great in the showroom but actually are not as fulfilling to own or as enjoyable to drive as you think they should be. And I kind of got to thinking, well, I was a bit fed up with spending big money on cars. What could I do next? And I'd always had a sneaking admiration for the Skoda range of cars. Our local taxi firms all use Skodas, and whenever you get in the Skoda taxis and you have the usual chat to the driver, and once you've gone through what time do you finish and the rest of it, you ask about the mileage on the car, and you sort of expect the answer to be maybe 50,000 miles, and they frequently come back with 150, 250, 300,000 miles, and at that stage the cars are still as tight as a drum. So you sort of start thinking, well, if a taxi driver is using these cars and his livelihood depends on it, there must be something about them. So we decided we would go for a Skoda. What's the worst thing that could possibly happen? And the answer is, the worst thing that's possibly happened is I realise I've wasted so much money on cars in my life. As you would have seen from when we went for a drive round, it's a nice quiet car. I'm staggered at the economy of this car. I mean, we came up from home last week and we got 59 point something miles to the gallon, which is pretty incredible on one level, but on another level it's quite disappointing because on the same run I've seen it as high as 63. I mean, 63 miles to the gallon in a car of this size is just ridiculous. We love the well thought out design, the value for money. I mean, this car itself was a few £100 over £30,000, so it's about the same price as the Renault Zoe, and apart from the Zoe's battery, this car is in a different league in every respect. But you know, am I a Skoda fanboy? Well, maybe a little bit, and I'm struggling to find things that we don't really like. You really have to start nitpicking on reasons why you don't, things, trying to find things that you don't like, and you end up with things like, well, as you saw, the driving mode we always use is individual. There is no way of making the car remember the last driving mode you used. It always reverts back to normal. And so it's not exactly a pain, but you start the car and you have to push 2 buttons. Well, what a first world problem. But that's the sort of things you start having to look for to find things that you don't like. Other things I don't like about it, okay, and we really are nitpicking, the tyres that these cars come with are Pirelli P7s, and they are susceptible, I mean, I said it's a quiet car, but they are susceptible to road noise dependent on the surface. You get a nice smoothly surfaced road, and they are silent if you get a slightly more broken up surface like you get a lot of in the UK. They can be a bit noisy. They're not the world's grippiest tyres in wet weather, but overall they're not so bad that I would need to change them. So the conclusion really for this car is, do we like it? Hell yes, we really do. There is probably one fairly significant flaw with the car, and it is not the car's fault, it's just how society is changing, and that is that it's got the diesel engine. Okay, it's a Euro 6 diesel engine, and it is very quiet, but realistically speaking, going forward, it's got to be a battery electric vehicle. They are quieter, they are faster, they're far cheaper to run, and if you could get a BEV version of this car, in my opinion, it would be unbeatable. All I would say to people with Skodas is look past the badge, look at what you're getting. They are great cars. They've got proven technology because all of the new tech gets put in the Audi, which is the top of the pecking range in the Volkswagen Audi group. Once it's been established and the Audi owners have done all the beta testing, it gets pushed through Volkswagen, Seat, and then into Skoda. So by the time the Skoda gets it, might be 2 or 3 years old in a technology point of view, but all the bugs have been ironed out and it generally just works. So I hope you enjoyed the video. We really love this car. It's probably one of the best cars, certainly in the top 3 that I've owned, and I'd put that in the same sort of what cars are in the top 3. Well, I think you're probably looking at the S-Class Mercedes and the E-Class Mercedes estate. It's certainly up there with the pleasurable experience and considerably cheaper to run. But I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to hit that bell icon and you'll know what's coming up next. Oh, talking of what's coming up next, I'm not entirely sure what's coming up next. It was going to be a review of the Morgan to be released in 2 weeks after this video goes live. But I've had a lot of people say, Wolfie, your cars are always so shiny and clean. How does that happen? And the answer is I have a very good relationship with a local firm called KAVD, and they do a lot of maintenance on these cars to keep the paintwork looking pristine. So the next video might actually be a review or detail as days work looking after the Wolfies Wheels fleet. But that's a bit TBA. Watch this space. So if you hit that bell icon, you'll know when it's released and you'll know what it is. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye.